All right, so what I gave you up to now in the those first four quantum uh, PowerPoints set us up to draw diagrams to represent the structures of the electrons around atoms. Um, and at this point, what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to use some of the PowerPoints I also use for 110. So there's going to be four of them, and there'll be four quizzes to go along with them. In the first PowerPoint, it's a little bit different in the way that I describe how the structure of the electrons. I use more of a physical model. I sort of compare. I use when I talk about the energy levels. I talk about the area of the energy levels, and I talk about electrons behaving like planets going around the sun and so forth versus what the way I explain in terms of the electrons being waves, and using the 1/2 what was it, omega times radius squared, and to give you the idea that the relationship between energy levels is related to the square of the energy level. Uh, so so just pay attention to that. I mean, that's not how we want. I mean, that's not how in your class we really want to define it. But on the quizzes, there'll be a couple questions that relate to it. The main thing is the second half of that of the first PowerPoint will be very similar to the second half of the last video of the Quantum 4 video. And then the next three will deal with different structures, ways that we models. I mean models that we represent electrons, starting with the orbital energy diagram, the electronic configuration, Bohr model, and then Lewis dot structure. The first two, the orbital energy diagram and the electronic configuration, just give us start to set up how the electrons are set up around in the atom, and according to their energy level, the orbitals and subshells, and um, and so you're going to want I call those sort of the basic structures, and then the next two, the Bohr and the Lewis-Dot structure, are what I call functional models. I also going to do a very short PowerPoint that deals with quantum numbers and relating them to orbital energy diagrams. You're going to have to know that for your class. Uh, the key thing, so you will notice when I get to electronic configurations, which I believe is in the third PowerPoint, electronic structure, the third PowerPoint, uh, you'll notice that I use the periodic table to come up with electronic configuration. Now, if you've had chemistry before, you may have used the zigzag model. At this point, I don't. It doesn't matter which one you use, and so if you can't follow along the way that I give it to you, it's hard to describe it on the PowerPoint, um, and you find it easier to do using the instead of using the periodic table, using the zigzag. And if you've had it before, you know what I mean. Or if you go to the Khan Academy or whatever to see how to do it, and that's fine. So that'll be like 1s2, 2s2, and things, and you'll see that when you get to it. The other thing is when you get to the Bohr model, just to let you know, I do not use it. If you look up the Bohr model on the internet, the Bohr model will try to represent all the electrons in a structure using rings. I don't do that. So, for instance, sodium, for instance, the Bohr model, and you'll see what is that typically when you learn this in like 8th grade, okay, uh, so sodium has 11 electrons, and the way that you learn this in 8th grade or whatever is you give it one ring, and then 2 rings, and then 3 rings, okay, and so forth, and you put the first ring, and then you have 4 pairs of 2 in the second ring, and then you will have 1 left over and it goes in the outer ring. I don't do that when I talk about the Bohr model. My Bohr model is simply going to be how many shells it has. Okay, so it has 3, and you'll go over how you can figure that out. And how many electrons are on the outer shell, 1. So you don't have to do all the inside stuff. Please don't do that. It's not what I want. It doesn't tell me, it's not what's important. What'll help us with this structure. The way that it is, tells us how big the atom is. This over here is just, it's nonsense to me, because, I don't know, you learn it in 8th grade, okay, and it's just a method to figure things out. This one I have more relate to more function. Okay, so there'll be some, so the couple things is that, so there'll be another short video that have to do with quantum numbers, and all right, so that's just expect that. If you have any questions about this, so I'll be putting out these quizzes as well as the other 4 quizzes they've already had this week, and there'll be another set. Another thing that we will be covering out of this, called, once we know the electronic structure, okay, what we will then be able to do is look at the function of how the atoms function, or based on this structure, and it will relate this to oxidation reduction, and also to why atoms have their particular charges, like why does fluorine have a minus charge, why does sodium have a plus charge, and so forth. Okay, so, and that'll come out. So right now, there's going to be, you have quantum, you have four videos and four short quizzes. You're also going to have four videos that has to do with the electronic structure, I call that, and then you have 4 quizzes, and then we'll talk about electronic structure, and then there'll be electronic structure's function, and that'll be a separate. Okay, so these 2 will be due by the end of next week, and we'll be going over this, so I'll put this out as well next week. Okay, all right, so hopefully that's give you an idea what's going on.